Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey guys, so we recently watched the new film Drive Back, and with us tonight is the director Cody Ashford. Welcome to the show, Cody.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
It's welcome.
We love the film. I was continuously surprised at this movie.
Yeah.
the level of WTFness in this film is indescribable, so I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, even watching it twice, I watched it twice, and I still were like, I don't know why I expected it to not shock me the second time, but it still did. So,
well, thank you so much.
So Cody, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into filmmaking?
Yeah, so this is what I've always wanted to do. I'm from the Central Valley of California originally, in the Fresno area. I went down to Los Angeles for film school about 15 years ago now, which is a hard sentence to say out loud. But then I moved back to my hometown, and I met Chris and Travis, the producers on this film, and they run Tremendum Pictures. And I just started doing some spec writing from them, some punch ups on some scripts for them, and then eventually this Drive Back script came their way, and I was doing what I like to call kind of like the Fresno pass on scripts, where they're local filmmakers, and so they would send them to me and be like, where do you think we could film this? Or how would you modify this so that we could film in Fresno for like a lower budget? And so I did that on the Drive Back script, where I was like, I really like this about John's script. Like, I think this is how we could change it to be more Fresno, or like around our surrounding areas, kind of up near Yosemite where we ended up filming. And they're like, awesome. That was actually your pitch to direct. And I was like, what? So I always saw myself as a writer first, but I've honestly spent a lot of my adult life directing theater. And so I think that was what Chris and Travis saw, along with kind of the energy that I bring to scripts and characters and interpretations of things, that they're like, let's do this. We want to try solely producing this one.
So thanks for giving that secret. So now we just need to say Fresno to somebody, and then we're like right in, right?
It's gonna slide our way, yeah, and we'll give it a check out.
It's so funny because I drive, but I live in the Bay Area, but I have family and some friends over in LA area, so I'm always traveling 5, and I see the exit for Fresno, and I've heard so many filmmakers mention it, and I'm like,
yeah,
why is this not like the new Hollywood over there?
We're trying.
And I did find out about Tim, was it the Fresno Night Crawler? Someone told us about.
Oh, the night crawl, yeah, the legs things.
It's just legs.
Cryptid.
Yeah.
That cryptid video first came out when I was in high school, and I think some of my earliest movies are trying to find the Fresno Nightcrawler. So they're real. They're real.
Oh, we would love to see that. We're big cryptid fans. So yeah, like Tim has said before, we really enjoyed this film a lot. But what were some of the things specifically that kind of, when you read that script, really attracted you to the project?
I think what I really loved about it was this very human conflict between this couple at the center, and I loved that they were having some of the most difficult talks of their relationship, but they were stuck not just in a car, but in a place that they couldn't leave. And I think that was exciting. I've had some of those talks in cars, and I know John, our writer, has as well. And so I think one of the things that drew me to it, and when I first talked with John about the script, was we were both like, this is a bad breakup. That's what this story, we want it to feel like, is really kind of like the breakup from hell, and all that goes with it, but maybe offering some different perspectives of that. And so I think that's what I really liked. Obviously, without spoiling too much, there's a pretty big like genre twist in it that I love Twilight Zone, I love Lost, and so I think those were big things where I was like, all of those have this big human element, but like they don't always explain why things are happening, and that doesn't really matter. What matters is how the characters are reacting to it and what it's doing to their own journey along the way. And so I think that was kind of the beating heart that we kept pursuing with everything that we did, every pass on the script, every decision with casting.
Nice. So Yeah, I love there's some genre blending in here, which
Yeah.
I really thought was really, really cool. And again, we're dancing around spoilers. We're not
No,
going to give any
Yeah.
spoilers, but this is one you definitely need to go in blind. But I did like that aspect of it. So I know time loop films and films with time travel and stuff have been really popular as of late in the horror genre. And as Brian said, this one sort of gave us time crimes and
yeah.
Brightwood vibes. So are there any challenges in directing something like this where you have like these multiple like different plot
Yeah.
points juggling?
I think it was one of those things where it was definitely checking in with the actors each day, and honestly, sometimes even between each scene. There's one sequence in particular that it was, we had to plan it very early on because we knew it was going to be probably a whole day or two of planning because it kind of featured some different interpretations of our performers, and so it was really scheduling with costuming, with assistant director, with cinematography, with me to be like, okay, these performers have to be in this version of the costume first. We need to get these scenes before we go here. But also you're racing against we shot on location in the middle of the mountains. And so like we're racing against the sun and trying to make it look consistent, even though we're filming it completely out of order. We're filming all day for a scene that's supposed to take place over kind of like 3 minutes. And so I think that was a really big challenge. It was definitely, a lot of me confirming to our assistant director JD, like, no, I promise this is what the car is supposed to look like right now, or like I know, like this will make sense, and confirming him as he's like, but the continuity. I'm like, I know this time it works. This time it works.
Yeah.
And just convincing everyone, like, hey, like, no, your character, this will make sense. Your character is supposed to be at this place emotionally right now.
Yeah, as I was watching it, I was sitting there going, "Oh, I've got to ask Cody how, like, did they film this chronologically, or how did they do this?" Because there's a lot of jumps
Yeah.
between states of the actors. I guess we'll just
So
say that.
we honestly, like, we filmed it probably like not just non-chronologically, but like shockingly so, because the first stuff that we filmed was all of the way our production was broken down was we had a week of all of the daytime stuff on the road first. So all of the stuff of them out of the car, running around, wandering, that was all week one. Then week two is all of the nighttime in the wood stuff. We didn't film any of their conversations in the car until week three.
Oh
So,
Oh my
wow.
God.
they've already lived the entirety of the film before we're having them film the exposition and the engagement party that opens up the film. That was the last shot we filmed. Like that was the last scene. That was at the end of wrap. So we kind of did our time loopy thing ended up being filmed that way as well.
I was going to say, it sounds like you like totally like in the spirit of the film, you filmed it that way too. Like,
But it made it so I think it worked really well because after we have all been through hell on a freezing mountain together, like their relationship is, the strongest at the beginning of the film. And like I think it kind of got to reflect that because Zach and Whit had spent so much time together and we were all just so excited to finally be in a warm cabin and not in the middle of the freezing woods.
yeah, it did not look like it would be. There's some sequences there. I'm like, that could not have been pleasant to shoot. There's just they literally look miserable. And so,
Yeah, it was very, very authentic. Yeah.
yeah. So you kind of touched on this earlier, but I want to elaborate a little bit. So there's obviously there's a lot going on in this film, and like Tim said, we're going to try and avoid spoil as much as I can. But if if for those who haven't seen this yet, by the time this releases, just if you want to see it first, come back. We were not going to hold that against you. But so anyway, but there's a lot going on, and you'd mentioned the relationship between the couple, of course, is the main heart of this, but there's also relationships you find out between like the main the lead and his dad. There's
Yeah.
just relationships just in general like kind of drive this film, and in a unique way. So how, like, did you feel like that was the most important thing to get across versus the other stuff that's going on?
I think so. I think I've been married for 10 years now, and I think I love my wife so much. But anytime that I think any two people have have arguments about something, they're both bringing in everything else. Like it's very rarely about the clicking of the pen that's causing the annoyance. It's about the conversation that you just had 5 minutes before. It's about that time you saw your partner do something that challenged how you thought about them years ago that it's now bringing up. And so I think that was really what we wanted to bring to this. And even in the conflict that they have, like when things start spinning out of control, like Reed, and I think Zach Gold does such a great job of doing this, is he keeps going back to those same insecurities that he has with his father, but also with Whit's character Olivia.
Yeah, that was yeah, and like this, Tim and I are both married too, and it's so true though how you said that. Like sometimes you'll get into a little argument over literally the stupidest thing, but
The
yet
stupidest
everything
thing, yeah.
out.
It all comes out.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with with your significant other there, and you're just back and forth. It's like I know my wife's ready to would kill me sometimes with the stuff I bring up, and it's like, oh.
We always talk about how saintly our wives are for putting up with us for as long as they have. Because
So, talking about horror and watching movies and doing all of this, it's like, wow, thank you so much. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, I want to go back to the two leads because they were fantastic.
Yeah.
And how much of their how much of this was scripted versus did you allow any kind of ad-libbing or improv?
I come from a theater background, but I come not from the strict theater background. I love improv. I love messing around, and I love coming up with character moments on the spot. And so once again, I'm honestly really glad that we didn't film all of the like interior car stuff till after our time on the mountain, because by the time we got there, they had shorthand for things. They were messing with each other. Like it was very familial. They were messing with me. Like we would just be joking and talking about something. And then that would lead to a whole new sequence and a whole new interpretation of some of these lines. So I think the heart of John's script stayed the same the whole time, but there was definitely a lot of ad lib between the two of them. And I think in some of the more tender moments and in some of the more extreme moments of things coming out, I know there was a few times where I would tell Whit something for a character motivation completely different than what Zach was expecting. And I think that would led to some very interesting confrontations on screen.
Cool. So, so Tim and I, we're huge fans of really cool locations and set pieces. We're always kind of on that thing that you could get a set piece that becomes a character in itself, and you had kind of like the ultimate one, this creepy roadway that seems familiar all the time, even to the viewer who's never been there, but yet then so spooky and distant. And, we've all been on that road where you're like, just it creeps into the back of your head, just like, what happens if I can't find my way out of here?
Yeah.
It's like, what would go, and now we're so reliant on technology too. We're like, oh, as long as I got my phone, and then you have no bars, and you're like, okay, well, now what happens really if this happens? We're back to like the old map things. And I loved that part too in the in the store where he's like trying to write down the map and he's trying to draw it. That store alone was just one of the coolest sequences because it was so funny and so creepy. Very David Lynch to me, actually.
Thank
the
you.
way that
It
guy
was very David Lynch, yeah.
The way that guy's, I'm like, oh my god, this could have easily been in a David Lynch movie, and everyone would just totally expect it. So what so how do you feel like that location that you found really helped the story, and also did it present any kind of challenges at any point?
It was so cool getting to film there because I as a Fresno local, I grew up going to the mountains. I grew up going to Yosemite. I've worked at summer camps as a high schooler and college student, and so like I've spent many of these conversations on that road with various friends and partners at different moments in my life. And so what was so cool was seeing that place so clearly in my mind, knowing like I have driven this and I have been lost here and it has been endless. But then getting to see that Chris and Travis as our producers were on the same page, that John was on the same page with what he was writing, and then finding it in real life was amazing. But anytime you're filming in the wilderness, it poses so many challenges. And this this was a big one. This was one where it was so cold, and we filmed this in October and November of 2022, and like there was record snowfall that year, and it came early,
Lordy.
and so we literally got snowed out on the mountain. That scene in the cabin was supposed to be a completely different cabin that we had storyboarded for, shot listed for, and everything, and it got snowed over. We couldn't reach it, and so we had to schedule a new cabin like 2 days before. But there is something also so kind of surreal and serene when making a bloody horror movie, but of being alone in the mountains and really just having nothing but the people that you're with to focus on. But it was isolating. We had a few people on set that would always say, like, a lot of people's first movies is like a cabin in the woods movie, but this was the woods around the cabin movie, and that burns through generator fuel, that makes equipment really cold. That means that you have to weather the environments in different ways. But the other location you mentioned, the I Forgot store, that's really what it's called.
Is
like,
it really?
I
only want to go there.
we found that location and when we were looking for older gas stations, and then we're like, oh, there's this quirky place that's out near this dam, and we're like, is it really called this? Like, this fits so thematically with what we're doing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I gotta try and plan a visit to that store.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure I go early though, so it's all light though. I don't want
Exactly.
darkness on that road. I don't know.
No, what I was while I was watching it, I was thinking about how Brian and I watch a lot of indie films and a lot of modestly budgeted films, and so you see a lot of them that are set in one location, and and people do great things and creative things doing just one location movies. But sometimes they can be a little claustrophobic because you're never kind of leaving that. And I thought this film was super cool in that you were able to get away with like filming in just a pretty isolated location, but it doesn't feel claustrophobic because you're out in the woods and you're on a road and you feel like you're traveling and you're not confined in a space, but yet you're still able to do that on a modest budget and with the limited number of locales. So I thought it was really cool.
Well, thanks. I think that was one of the biggest, conceits from the very first script, where it's like, can we pull this off? Like, can we have people talking in a car be interesting? And then, like you said, then we do get into the forest. And honestly, like, major shout out to my cinematographer, Lucas Patasi, who just like, I think made this thing look so beautiful. And just captured driving in a car in a way where I'm like, wow, this is miserable, but like, this is a really aesthetic car.
Yeah.
No, you managed to do that really well. Plus with the little, with the, not to spoil it for some people, but the jump scares of the almost accidents. I mean, like, I felt my stomach kind of jump in those because, who hasn't had that happen where you take your eye off for just 1 second to fix something and then a car comes like flying past you, and I thought it was really authentic how he gets at it. He goes, I just need a minute. And of course they're blaming each other, because that's what happens when you're in it.
Anytime, regardless of who's driving.
Yeah. It's a neat contrast between you're isolated, but you're out in the wide open, completely free, but somehow you're still like isolated. It's a really cool contrast, I think.
Thanks.
So Cody, this film's been hitting the festival circuits and it's been really well received. Do you have some of your favorite reactions you've received from the film?
I think one of my favorite reactions was one that we got when we played at Popcorn Frights in Florida. And this is one of the first reviews that popped up on Letterboxd, and it was, more couples should break up after road trips. I think that was one of my favorites. Just right out the gate. It's been really interesting just seeing how people react to the ending in particular. And what some of the more argumentative elements of the film are. It's been really interesting, kind of having a film. A lot of my day job is I'm a teacher, and so a lot of my coworkers came to one of our screenings and checked it out. And it's been weird sitting in the lunchroom and hearing them argue about our movie and hearing them like literally just call it like, no, that's not what that old couple represents. They're this. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. You got it. Like, I didn't even think of that. And so I think it's been really fun seeing some of those discussions. Obviously, it's been a really, really cool just seeing some people pick up on, like, there's some very not so subtle references and homages. I think especially like very early on, like I'm clearly like there's a creepy hillbilly couple in the mountains, and it started with a wrong turn, and there's roadkill. Like I know what I'm ripping off, like intentionally so, and then it changes to something else, and so it's been fun seeing people start to pick up on those elements and be like, wait, I think this is actually like referencing this, and then it turns into something else. And it's been really cool seeing Zach and Whit in particular just get so much hype for their roles. Like I'm so proud of the performances that they did, and just seeing that be what it seems like a lot of people are walking away with, where they're like, wow, these two really sold this part. Has been really cool to see.
Yeah. I mean, Zach, I've never seen him. I have to say, he's one of the most visual representation of internal stress on his face. I mean, just like from the minute with the guy's eating the cheese balls or something and insulting his artwork or whatever, and I'm just like, oh my god, and just a look on his face, I'm like, oh my god, this guy has got. You could tell there's like other things going on. It's not just this little moment, but that's like a theme throughout. Like as we said earlier, it's like there's always this baggage, this background stuff. And he does such a good job of like just visually representing it without even having to say anything, which I thought was impressive. So
Brian and I have been talking about how the caliber of actors in even really low budget movies has gone way up. I feel like it's gone through the roof. Like there's some really, really talented actors out there right now.
There's been, and I think what's so cool is like both Zach and Whit, like they've both had training. Like they've both done their homework. Like, not even just with acting classes, but like for screen, but also for stage. And it's so cool just seeing people and working with people who like also respect the craft and respect the character. And it would be really easy for someone to come in being like, this is, an indie horror movie. Like I'm going to scream, I'm going to run around, but then being like, I want to be my character. I want to fill this void with that interpretation. And so I think that's something that a lot of indie actors are really bringing right now. Cause I think you do have people who, if you're going to spend 3 weeks out in the middle of nowhere, like you've got to love it. Like you've got to be passionate about it. Cause it's definitely not the paycheck.
And I was gonna say too. It's like to kind of piggyback on Tim's thing about just indie stuff in general. It's like I find that like, and we've said this before, but like the cast, the crew, the whole everything about an indie production, you could just see the effort and the love for it. You know that they're doing it for the love of the craft, because it's not a $40 million blockbuster. You're getting like. And I said it was one of my favorite stories to share. We had on a director once, and she wrote, directed, starred, and even did her own craft services for her production. That's how tight her budget was. The point where she goes, I was up in the morning making like lasagna or something, and then bringing it to this thing, and then getting into character and directing it. So it's like, but it pays off to me. That's why I love indie films. I love that because you just feel the effort, you feel the craft, that they work so hard to present something. And it's just, I mean, I'd watch indie over like these big budget things any day. I mean,
I mean, I grew up, I was in high school in the early 2000s, right when like VOD I feel like was really starting to take off. And so like I that's what I would seek out. And I remember seeing like early Benson and Moorhead, like Resolution was one where I watched that and I'm like, holy shit, like this is two guys filming something with their friends, and I love it. Like, and I'm entranced by it. And even just, I mean, so many of those, that is what I think got me to do it. And that's what I wanted to replicate when I was in college, and now finally getting to do that with just people who are just such a committed crew. Like I looked out so much for my first feature, just getting to work with such amazing people who all wanted to see this happen.
It's shocking to realize, like when I saw that this was your first, I'm like, how is this his first feature film? It's so good. It's like, it's just, it was so polished, and it's like, there's,
really
sometimes
was.
you could see like, oh, this, and maybe this is done because of a lack of experience or something, or maybe it's just we'll give him a pass. But like with that, I would have never guessed in a million years that this was your first feature. It was so well done and so polished.
I think that's been my biggest advice for people trying to do stuff is like team up with people who are like 4 levels above you. Like I mean, my cinematographer Lucas, like I think this was his 14th indie feature that he shot. Obviously, my producers are pros at this for the past decade.
Oh yeah.
Both my actors have done so much, so I felt like, you know, I knew I had a story that I wanted to tell. I knew the justice that the best review I first got from this was when I got John Sorrow, our writer's review, saying he liked it. Like that was when I was like, okay, I did it. And from as a writing background, like I know that's such a big deal to see your stuff either like, wow, that's exactly what I saw, or completely butchered. And so knowing that he was like gonna still answer my texts in the future felt really good. But getting to work with people that were all so skilled in this craft just I think honestly helped me so that I couldn't mess up, right? Like helped me so that, you know, they would challenge it or push back if I was going astray.
Thanks. Well, and that leads to the next thing, too, because of course now it makes after seeing this, Tim and I are very eager to see what you have coming down next in the pipeline. If you can say if there's anything you have coming up that you can speak about.
So I'm in a Masters of Fine Arts program right now for screenwriting. I'm actually in the David Lynch program.
Oh, nice.
So you shouting that out, I'm like, I wonder if I can send that and get some off my tuition. Where it's like, look what I did.
We'll vouch for you, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm writing constantly for that. I have a few scripts that are kind of jumping around right now. That I'm really hoping one of those will get to be my next one. They're still very I can't escape genre bending stuff. I love that so much. Like I think that is why I love Lost so much. But I definitely want to level up. I want to try doing something just a little different. Explore some different themes. But yeah, so I guess that's a nothing burger answer to like no, I've got several things and nothing. But yeah,
no, it's a good. I mean, you don't want to give it anything away too. I'm just glad you have it. It seems like we're gonna get some good stuff from you coming up.
Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
So, Cody, before we let you go, I definitely want our listeners to find out, like, where can they check out the film? Like, where can they, like, any kind of socials or anything you want to give out?
Yeah, so please check out the film. It's on Apple and Amazon, also on YouTube and Google Play. So pretty much anywhere that you can find premium VOD. So please check it out there. I think it's really it's pretty cheap too. I think it's only like $13 to buy, like $6 to rent. You can find the movie as well on @DriveBackMovie. On Instagram, you can find me at Kodash27. On Instagram and a somewhat active TikTok depending on the week. Cody Ashford on that. And yeah.
I think we follow you on Instagram already, so that's good.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah. So you'll
Yeah.
see us I try and stay as active as I can on that. And now like Blue Sky is becoming such a huge thing now with horror. It's like massive. They're having all these horror creator packs. So like there's like this big, like huge, like horror presence now on Blue Sky that you can follow, which is really good.
That's cool.
Yeah, so guys, definitely check this one out. This one will kind of, like I said, go in cold. It'll kind of blow your mind, and highly recommended. So yeah, check that out on VOD as soon as you listen to this.
Remember, always keep a paper map in your car too.
Yeah,
always.
I'm old enough to remember the old map. You had to print it out from MapQuest.
And well, we're also old enough to remember Dad fighting to fold and open a map. So that was I'm like wondering now, I'm like, oh my God, thank God I got I started to drive when we had some sort of like ability to print out something, because I'm like, I would have never been able to I can't read those maps. I even Google Maps sometimes I'm looking at, I gotta zoom in, I'm like, okay, there's a landmark I know. Okay, so that's where I am.
Is this my state? Am I in the right place?
Yeah. It's like, where am I? And it's so funny because I lived in California years ago, then I moved back. I grew up mostly in New York, moved to California, went back. Now my wife and I moved back here again, and I didn't live exactly that far from where we are now, but like I feel like so many things have changed. I still like hop in a to go like 10 feet away or 10 miles away. I'm like, I need like Google something on there because I don't remember any of this.
Oh, even to like places you're going, it's almost like a safety blanket of like, okay, I'm seeing how much time till I get there. Like
Yeah.
I can see the roads. Yeah, it's silly.
Well,
It was
traffic
nice.
too helps out with the traffic.
Of
The only
course,
it's
of
funny.
course.
I'll always throw it on, even though the way when I go to LA, it's like there's only really. I only need it for the end, like when I
Yes,
get
yeah.
to my brother's house. Once you get off of 5 and you're in LA, I swear to God, I think we've got driven there about 5 or 6 times, and all 6 times it's got give us a different way once we get over the grapevine, and I'm like, I need that there for sure.
Well, man, Cody, thanks so much again
Oh,
for
thank you guys so
scheduling
much.
us. I
This
know
was
we
awesome.
did a little rescheduling there. You were gracious
Totally
enough
okay.
to accommodate us. So again, anytime you got anything to promote,
Yeah,
Yes, always
You're-
welcome on.
always
I love
welcome
that.
on. Or if you just need us to shout out something on socials, we'll be happy to do so.
Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. So nice to meet you guys. This is cool.
Yeah, very nice to meet
Yeah.
you.
No, great to meet you too. We'll keep in touch through Instagram for sure,
Yeah.
and hopefully they'll get a Blu-ray release because I'm a big
Oh my
physical
gosh,
media
me
collector.
too. I want a Blu-ray now. I need it. Yeah,
Well, if there's a place where we can sign or request it, let us know.
yeah. Deal. Yeah, I'll send that petition your way.
We'll
as
do
soon
a
as I make it.
change.org.
Yeah.
We gotta look for them.